Russian artillery, once the backbone of its invasion strategy, is slowly being dismantled. Ukraine's use of drones, advanced targeting systems, and real-time reconnaissance has transformed the battlefield. Nearly 30,000 artillery systems have been destroyed, forcing Russia to rethink its tactics. Get ready to see Moscow's invasion strategy crumble before your eyes. The clay giant. Russian artillery in the invasion. At the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine, Russian military doctrine relied heavily on its vast and seemingly overwhelming superiority in artillery. The idea was simple and brutal. Saturate Ukrainian defenses with a massive volume of fire from mortar and rocket launchers, paving the way for armored and infantry troops. This tactic, inherited from Soviet military tradition, worked in previous conflicts where the adversary lacked effective defenses against such incessant barrages. Russia possessed a gigantic arsenal with thousands of artillery systems of various calibers and capabilities. It was believed that this relentless firepower would be the backbone of its victory, capable of quickly wearing down Ukrainian resistance and imposing Moscow's objectives. The first months of the war witnessed the intensity of these bombardments, causing widespread destruction and significant casualties. The game changer: drones and eyes in the sky. However, the modern battlefield proved to be a lethally hostile environment for traditional artillery, especially against an ingenious adversary supported by advanced technology. Ukraine, even though numerically disadvantaged, quickly adapted its tactics, maximizing the use of drones for surveillance, reconnaissance, and fire correction. Small, modified commercial drones, in addition to more sophisticated military models provided by Western partners, became the omnipresent eyes of the Ukrainian army. They could pinpoint Russian artillery positions with precision, often before the cannons could fire a large number of projectiles. This real-time reconnaissance capability nullified the advantage of anonymity and dispersion Russian artillery traditionally sought. Furthermore, Ukraine began to use advanced targeting systems and fire control software provided by allies. These systems allowed Ukrainian artillery to respond accurately and quickly to Russian fire, performing so-called counter-battery fire with surprising effectiveness. The combination of drones to locate the enemy and advanced technology to neutralize them proved devastating for Russian artillery. The slow and painful dismantling. Nearly 30,000 systems lost. The result of this new combat dynamic has been catastrophic for Russian artillery. Estimates indicate that nearly 30,000 Russian artillery systems have been destroyed or incapacitated since the beginning of the invasion. This impressive number represents a massive loss of firepower, eroding Russia's ability to conduct effective saturation bombardments and support its advancing troops. This destruction is not only quantitative, but also qualitative. Losing such a large number of artillery systems means losing not only the cannons themselves, but also the transport vehicles, artillery tractors, command and control vehicles, and, crucially, the trained crews to operate them. Replacing these losses takes time, resources, and skilled personnel, elements that have become scarce for Russia as the conflict has progressed. The dismantling of Russian artillery did not happen suddenly, but rather in a slow and painful process marked by constant casualties and the inability to maintain the intensity of the initial firepower. Ukraine, with its eyes in the sky and increasingly accurate artillery, has turned the battlefields into veritable graveyards for Russian cannons. Rethinking tactics. Russia's forced adaptation. Given these significant losses and the effectiveness of Ukrainian tactics, Russia has been forced to rethink its tactics and seek alternatives to compensate for the fragility of its traditional artillery. This adaptation has manifested in various ways. Greater reliance on own drones. Russia has also intensified the use of its own drones for reconnaissance and fire adjustment, though generally with less effectiveness than Ukrainian models. More selective use of artillery instead of massive and indiscriminate bombardments. Russian forces have been compelled to use artillery more selectively, concentrating fire on specific, higher-value strategic targets. Increased use of missiles. Russia has more frequently resorted to the use of cruise and ballistic missiles to hit targets deep within Ukrainian territory, seeking to compensate for the difficulty of maintaining pressure with field artillery. Development of countermeasures. there is a Russian effort to develop effective countermeasures against Ukrainian drones, such as electronic warfare systems and short-range air defense weapons. Search for new artillery sources. Reports suggest that Russia has sought artillery supplies from other countries, such as North Korea and Iran, to compensate for its battlefield losses. However, these adaptations have not been enough to restore the former superiority of Russian artillery. Ukraine continues to neutralize a significant number of systems, maintaining pressure on the invading forces. The legacy of artillery warfare in the drone era, the war in Ukraine is writing a new chapter in the history of artillery warfare. It demonstrates that even the largest and most numerous artillery force can be significantly neutralized by an adversary that effectively exploits the capabilities of drones, real-time intelligence, and advanced targeting technology. The dismantling of Russian artillery does not mean the end of its use, but it certainly marks a paradigm shift in how it is employed on the modern battlefield. The era of indiscriminate saturation bombardment seems to be giving way to a more precise, selective, and integrated use with other technologies, especially the eyes in the sky, that made Russian cannons so vulnerable. This lesson learned in Ukraine will have profound implications for the military doctrine of other armies around the world, forcing a re-evaluation of the role of traditional artillery in the age of technological warfare and omnipresent drones. The once invincible Russian clay giant proved to be more fragile than imagined, marking a crucial technological and tactical victory for Ukraine. Do you believe the era of traditional artillery as a dominant force has come to an end? Let me know in the comments.